everyone, and welcome to Everything About Wealth, the podcast. This podcast is focused on wealth building, and I am your host, Denny Troncoso, and I am here with your co-host, Desiree Troncoso. Desiree, how's everything going over here?
It's going great. How's it going with you?
Hey, we're rocking. We're finally doing our third episode. Isn't this so exciting?
Yes.
It is. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in. Today's call, we're going to be talking about the FIRE movement. If you haven't heard about it, it stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. If you already are in your 50s or 60s, it's Retire Comfortably, all right? So that's what really all the information we're going to be sharing is going to be about building a better retirement for you or having a more stable retirement if you're already there. The principles originated from the book written in the 1990s, Your Money or Your Life, by Vicki and Joe Dominguez.
Yeah, and Denny and I recently came across the updated version of the book from 2018 with new material for our current times.
Awesome.
The book really spoke to us more because of the tips and strategies that she talks about on how to manage money and find more ways to live the life that you desire. And that's just something that Denny and I try to do with our everyday lives, and that's why we were really attracted to the book. And some of the tips and strategies found in the book, we were happy to find out we're already doing. And there were awesome. Some that we felt we could implement for our future. So that's why we decided, hey, we have really got to share this book with you all. And that's why we decided to make it a topic for discussion on this podcast.
Hey, well said, Desiree. So today's we're gonna be talking about the call's gonna be surrounded on 6 points from the book. 6 nuggets that we're going to share with you guys, and hopefully that may help change your mindset or your lives, everything regarding money and everything else. Maybe.
Right, and we can't talk about everything she had in the book because there was so much information.
Of course.
But check out the book for more information.
That's right. That's right. So definitely read the book. Put it on your list, okay? And we'll have a link for the book on our website so you guys can check it out there. All right, so first thing I wanted to talk about, I'm going to let Desiree take it from here.
Yeah, one of the first points that we want to talk about is generally financial independence, right? And I know a lot of us hear about financial independence, but what exactly does that mean?
Yeah, right? You hear the words and you're like, okay, you kind of beat me over the head with the words, right? Because people talk about it a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So financial independence is really just where you have enough cash flow from your investments or any other ways that you're earning income to stop working at a job that you may not want to work at, or additional income, because there are some people out there who love what they do. Yep. It's just, or having additional income where just in case something happens to that job, you're not financially dependent on that specific job to make a living. Yep. So you're able to maintain your lifestyle or maintain living without stress in the economy.
Hey, well said. So some different ways to live financially independently, or what they call the FIRE movement, are to possibly retire and work seasonally. So work seasonally, maybe you work during Christmas holidays, maybe you work in the summers, maybe you work sometimes some areas in the spring, but you don't work the entire year. You only work at certain times throughout the year. Maybe if you can go to Alaska and work with the cruise ships during the time that people travel to Alaska, or other cities where travel's going on, so they need people to work there, and then you can, for the rest of the year, you do whatever you want to do. The other one is retire and start a business, which this one may not be for everyone, but it's one that I would definitely support and recommend if that's something that you want to do, be an entrepreneur. I've seen people that retired and they took that money, maybe they started a restaurant or bar, maybe they...
Consulting business. Yeah, it's endless.
Yeah, it's endless. Whatever you like to do, whatever your passion is, and we'll talk about that. But any type of business that you think would be a good idea.
Another point is to retire and do something you have always wanted to do. And I like this point because it really spoke to us, and this is what we looked to do was travel, even if it's just volunteering. Maybe there is a hospital working with children, something you've always wanted, somewhere you wanted to volunteer and you just didn't have time to do it.
Yep.
Working for nonprofits. Also, maybe you're someone who wants to spend more time with your family. Maybe you want to be at home or have more of the flexibility to where you can go home early where your kids are there. So
Exactly.
whatever it may be, but it's just doing something you've always wanted to do.
Yep. One of the other ones is like maybe you wanted to be involved, politically. Maybe you want to be an activist. Whatever you want to do, you want to getting political change. Maybe you care about animals. Whatever it is, this gives you more time to do it. And the last point is, of course, in general, working less hours. So maybe you keep your job where you're at now, but instead of working 40 hours a week, maybe you're able to work 20 hours a week. Maybe you're able to work 25 or 30 hours a week. So with that extra time, you're able to have take care of yourself, have more personal time, or do some of the other things we mentioned.
Exactly. And one thing that we always harp on, I know sometimes I need to work on this, but what are a way for you to make sure that you follow through with the FIRE movement, which she mentions, is have a FIRE accountability group.
Mm-hmm.
And
Great advice.
The accountability group really helps you with your goals, making sure you're staying on time with your goals, you're completing them, and also just support at the end of the day. Sometimes it's great when you have an idea and then you hit a wall, but then you can take that idea to someone else and then they give you this one or two pieces of advice, and it's just like, oh, that's all that it was, right?
Yeah.
So having an accountability group is a great way for you to work toward more of the different ways you may want to work to be financially independent or within the FIRE movement.
There you go. Great. So the next one is to change your relationship with money. That's the next point. Point number 2 is change your relationship with money. And I really like this point because I think money is something that we grow up and we kind of get that from our parents. So it's something that's really culturally and something very close to the family. We don't really talk about money that's outside of our of our parents when we have a money issue. We kind of get advice from them. And if they weren't really successful financially, it may not be great to get the advice from them, or maybe they don't follow certain money principles which you can be more successful. You can build wealth. So that's something you definitely want to see, what conversations, what words you're using when you're talking about money, how you're talking about debt, how you're talking about eating out, how you're talking about new cars and different things like that. Are you talking about investments, or are you talking about more about spending? What's the conversation with your family? So have money conversations with friends and family. Talk about things that people really don't want to talk about, like, hey, I have a certain amount of student loan debt. I'm working on paying this off. I'm looking to pay more than the interest payments. I don't know, have you guys had student loans, and how have you paid them off, or what's your strategy? Because when you do those conversations, you actually may get ideas from your friends that you can use to improve your financial situation.
Yeah, and I think going with changing your relationship with money is more of getting away from the embarrassment of talking about money as well, where it's not such a shameful topic to speak about with people. You don't want to go, I'm not telling you to go and tell the whole world.
Yes.
However, this can go with the accountability group that we mentioned earlier. But really, the most important conversation where I think it should be less embarrassing or shameful is between spouses, where you speak to each other more about it and getting away from the emotional spending of money and just really changing your mindset to, okay, money is black and white. It is what it is. It's numbers.
Yep.
So being able to change that mindset with the way that money works, I think you can take yourself out of the situation where you're wanting to purchase something because it makes you feel good.
Yep.
And you can really say, is this something that I want to buy or I need to buy, right? And that's something that I think is very important, and it's a big topic.
Yes, no, it's a huge topic, and it really. But one of the fundamentals with this topic is to have the money work for you rather than you having to work for money, right? Use money as a benefit, as a tool to help you reach the goals that you have in life. And a lot of our goals are really not around money. Money, it just allows us to do certain things, but it's very important, and we have to use it the right ways, right?
Yes, exactly.
And this is a tip from the book that we actually both really liked, and this is talking about life energy and how every dollar that we spend takes a certain amount of our life energy. And this is what it says: evaluate the cost of an item, something that you're buying. Maybe it's a cup of coffee at Starbucks. It could be an ice cream. It could be a car. Maybe you're getting a monthly payment, or you're getting a new car. But example, if you have an item that costs $15 and you get paid $15 an hour, then that item that you're buying is equal to 1 hour of your life energy. And so ask yourself, is that item that you're buying now, is it worth 15 is it
Your
worth
1 hour
your 1 hour
of life energy.
And I thought that's so powerful, right? Because sometimes we go out spending on things that we really may not need, and we don't really fathom or calculate how much time it's taking us to earn the money to be able to buy that thing.
Right, and I think it just, again, comes back to the mindset of how you're spending money, because a lot of times we are in this cycle of buying where we earn money, but then we go and spend it all. And we don't have a lot of money or none money, no money left over. And then we're having to go work, but then we're upset because we don't like the work that we're doing. So it starts this kind of, I don't want to say sick cycle, but
it's like the rat race, right?
Yeah,
like you're in there,
yeah, exactly, the rat race where you're continuously you're spending money, but then you're going back to do working 40 plus hours in order for you to recoup that money again.
And you hate that job, but you're forced to work there because you need the money,
right?
Because
exactly.
you landed in the debt.
You're right, because you're consuming things you may only want, not necessarily need. So it allows you to take a step back and say, yes, I put in this amount of energy, which is an hour or how many hours it may be, to buy this item. Is this hard work really worth this one gratification, this feeling of gratification I'm going to get at this moment? And it may be at that moment. You may need a pair of pants, or you may need something, but sometimes you may not need that. And it really makes you, I think, consider more of the relationship, like it says, with money, or your outlook with money.
And that's right. Isn't really what the book is doing in this particular topic? Isn't it really talking about more about awareness? Because we get bombarded with all these ads on TV that you need this, you need that new car, you need fashion. Yes, right?
Yeah.
A fashion. You need to have a dress every single time for women when they're going to go to a party, or a man, they need to have the new pants, a new shirt every single time.
Or on vacation. I need a new wardrobe to go to Hawaii.
Yeah, or you need to have this super expensive vacation. But kind of slow down. All those things are great, but be aware that maybe some of those things you don't necessarily need. And what is it going to do for your life compared to the amount of time it takes to earn it, to be able to buy it? So awareness is cool.
Yeah, I really like that topic a lot. So I'm going to go into the next third point, is how much money you need to be financially independent.
It's a good one.
I always, it's interesting that this question, the how much money, is always a question that comes up everywhere, right? In real estate, it's like, well, how much money, do I need to buy real estate? In business, it's like, how much money do I need to buy business?
Well, this is like the lawyer answer is what I really love. Like the lawyer is, I remember in college, and my master's and my professor, she was teaching a law class, and you asked her a question, and she said, well, the answer to the question is, it depends.
It is true. They always say that. Right. And in this case, it depends. We didn't have to go to law school to even do
No,
that,
we
guys.
didn't.
But it's true. It depends on your lifestyle and essentially the amount of expenses, right? Living expenses that you have.
Yeah, because you mentioned earlier that you have to be financially independent, you have money aside from a job that's giving you enough to pay for your expenses. And when you reach that, you're financially independent. So could we say that if I have expenses of $2,000 a month and I'm making $2,000 a month from a side business that I have or a consulting business, will I be financially independent?
No.
If I'm making $2,000 a month? Yeah, I would say so. If I'm making if my expenses are $2,000 a month and I'm making $2,000 for my business, then yes, I am financially independent.
Okay. Yeah, I think I would probably want a little bit more than just breaking even.
No, I get it. I get the break even.
I think with that example, but yeah, I mean, essentially you're making enough to pay for your living expenses for financial independence. But I think this goes into where, what is your lifestyle that you're currently living? You may, it depends on, in different areas, someone may have a big house, which of course is going to cost them $2,500 a month, versus someone that may have a smaller home that costs them $1,500 a month. And that's why we can't sit here and tell you how much it's going to cost you to become financially independent. Mm-hmm. Everybody's life is too different. Demographics are too different. City living versus living in the suburbs, again, totally different expenses. So we can't give you that number. And frankly, we don't want to give you that number. This is not for us to come here and tell you, oh, you guys, you need to make this amount of money in order for you to be considered financially independent. You need to go out there and find that for yourself, right? And then that goes along with building more of a financial plan for the type of lifestyle that you desire, so that you can have an idea of how much income you may need in order to live independently.
One thing with that is, don't ask what the world needs. Let's say, so you can find what you should do. Let's say if you want to find, people talk about your purpose and your mission and what type of business should I focus on based on my personality and all these things. Don't focus necessarily on what the world needs. Focus on what makes you come alive. And then if you can focus on that, then it'll be easier to find what the world needs from there. Now, regarding lifestyle, some tips from the book. They talk about live off 50% of your income and invest the other 50%. So that's probably a very drastic thing, because if you're earning $5,000 a month, you have $4,000, $5,000 of expenses. It's difficult, right, to invest 50%. But that's just a tip recommended in the book. So find ways to maybe reduce those expenses or increase your income. Maybe you can find ways to increase your income to $10,000 a month, because your expenses are like rock bottom. Maybe you can't cut them anywhere, which most people probably can, but let's say you can't. You need to increase your income so you can invest more money. And the goal with investing is to have more cash flow. So we personally believe that it's not only investing for retirement, but also think about maybe investments that can earn income in the short term, like maybe a real estate property and so many others that we'll talk about. The next one is to build your own financial lifestyle portfolio to meet your needs and lifestyle. There's some steadfast rules are, if your income from your business is equal to the income of your expenses, then you're financially independent. Desiree mentioned you want to have something more to cover your lifestyle, and I completely agree. So find out what that cushion is. Maybe you want to be making 10% more, maybe 20% more, whatever that is.
Right. Yeah, and the next one is take a year off with pay to enjoy life, travel, or do the things that you love to do. And I like the story that is in the book that talks about this. I know a lot of times we're like, take a year off. Like, what am I supposed to do for money?
Yep.
So there's a story in the book that talks about someone who was doing the living off 50% or less. Mm-hmm. He saved some money. And then from there, he went and took a year off to do what he wanted, which was traveling. He did some form of consulting on the side. And then once he was able to do that, he actually came back to find a job with another company in a better position with a better salary.
Yep.
And that was his goal, and for him to do that.
Yeah, and I think when he went off and he had the year off, that time allowed him to be more creative in his position. So when he came back, he had more value to offer the company, and just to by being away from business, you kind of can look at it from a different point of view. It's kind of like you can't solve the problem because you're the problem, right? So I think this is if you can, maybe shoot for that. Maybe if it's not a year, maybe it's a month, maybe it's 3 months, maybe you can build on it.
Right, exactly.
All right, so we have our next point, and it says, what type of investments should I consider? And this one comes with a quote from Robert Kiyosaki, which is not mentioned in the book, but it's in another book with Robert Kiyosaki. If you haven't heard of him, look him up. But he talks about two professions. What is your profession, which is maybe your career, maybe you're a doctor, you're a dentist. But then he's also asking, what is your money's profession? So what are you investing your funds in? And most people are investing them in maybe mutual funds, but there's so many other investments that you can consider. And some of the investments to consider if you are looking to accelerate the FIRE movement to the retirement, one of them, which is a very common one, is bonds. Another one is stocks in the stock market. CDs, they talk about where, if your bank, they have CDs which are very low return. And then the other one is notes. And these are for periodic income. So a bond, if you're not familiar with that, that's something, it's a debt that you basically are lending your company money. If you're buying stock, investing in the stock market, then you're owning a piece of the company. And CD, certificate of deposit, basically the bank holds your money. They make a lot of money with it. You don't make a lot of money. And then the last one is a note, which is you're basically loaning people money on a real estate property. So when you buy a property, it comes with a mortgage and a note. The note is what you promise to pay. So it's basically the debt. So those are some investments to consider. A lot of people invest in mutual funds through their job. All right, so a lot of you may have a 401k, you may have money accumulated there, and that's in a mutual fund, which is tons of stocks and bonds all together in like a big bundle, and it's supposed to diversify your portfolio. Yeah.
So how would you say is a way to use those type of investments to become part of the FIRE movement or to be financially independent?
Well, the first thing is you need to learn about them and find which ones that you feel more comfortable with, right? Because there's so many investments that you can consider, but there's some that you may or may not be comfortable with. Like the ones that I just listed could not be your cup of tea.
Right.
So you need to find some of the other ones that we're going to talk about in just a minute to see if those will fit you well. But a good way, maybe you like to diversify your portfolio. So what you would do is you would put maybe 20% of your money and you would put it in the stock market. Could be in a mutual fund, could be in a bond, could be in just a stock maybe that you're buying. It just depends what you're focusing on. But education, I think, is number one.
Very cool. Yeah, and I think there's a couple that actually did this. And it was a husband and wife duo from Toronto, Canada. Mm-hmm. Christy Chen and Bryce Luang. Mm-hmm. I hope I didn't butcher the name.
I think it's Leong.
Leong, okay. Yeah. We actually heard them from a podcast. And on the story that they were talking about their lives, they saved $1 million by living off less than 50% of their income. Mm-hmm. And they did this by moving further out of the city because Toronto was very expensive to live in. Yep. So they moved into an apartment that was further out of the city. and they moved into a 1-bedroom apartment, I believe it was. They also started watching their expenses for eating out, spending on unnecessary items, etc., etc. And then after so basically over time they were able to save up $1 million, right? And then from there they took the $1 million and invested it. And what do you remember exactly what they invested it in?
Yeah, so actually while they were saving money, I would imagine to say that I don't remember them talking that much about it, but I'd say throughout this whole process that money is invested. They're investing in the stock market. They're putting money aside, and it's continuing. Their money is continuing to grow. So what they follow is something mentioned in the book, which is something by one of the people that wrote the foreword of the book. Is called Mr. Money Mustache. If you haven't heard about him, he's a very personal finance guru that talks a lot about the FIRE movement and saving money. And what he believes is you should bet that with the amount of money that you have, if you get 4% on that money, you need to have 25 times your annual expenses saved so you can live off of that. So the formula is, if your expenses are $40,000 per year, you multiply that times 25 to get the total amount of money you're going to need to have invested so you can retire and live off of that. And that's counting on living off of a 4% return. So that's... did I explain that, Desiree, pretty simply? I know the numbers kind of get...
Yeah, I think you explained it pretty well, but continue the story. So you get $1 million, you live off 4%.
Yep.
Of the year, and they're basically traveling the world with that. They decided not to buy a home in Toronto. They decided that they were just going to travel, and they're living off the interest of their returns, basically, of their investment.
Yep. Yeah, they're living off of that, the $40,000 a year, and that's what they're using to travel. And if they're on their website is millennialrevolution.com. I would love to have them on our show. So if you're listening, please contact us, and we would love to have you, Christy and Bryce. So other investments to consider. So that's the way that they did it. They did it with the stock market. I don't know if they're focusing on anything else, but I know that they talked about the stock market. That's one way you could do it. Another way that you could do it is by focusing on being an investor, which is investing in maybe private companies and getting a share of the profits from some of those companies. So you may become an owner of the company rather than just owning stock in the stock market of a big corporation. You may focus on owning private companies or parts of private companies, and then you can share in the profits of those companies. Some of the benefits of that, those companies are typically growing faster than the larger companies, and also you may be able to get higher returns because of that. Of course, there's higher risk with that, but in the end, how can we lower risk? Again, by education. So if this is something you're interested in, you need to get educated on it so you can make sure to pick the right investments. Am I right?
Yep. Education and also diversification.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, and then another way they mentioned was capital gains from sale or proceeds.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you're flipping houses. Maybe that's a great way. You can, if you're buying rental property, maybe you're holding them for a year, and then you sell them. That's capital gains from that. Or maybe people are the business that you're working on. They're buying the businesses, the company that you're investing in, and then they're selling parts of the company within a certain amount of time. You're getting capital gains. Typically, capital gains, you're holding an investment for at least a year, so you can get capital gains from that. The other one, if you buy rental property, you own the real estate, and it generates cash flow after you pay the mortgage, the expenses of the property. And you have a net cash flow, and this is why you have to get educated to make sure that you're buying right. But that's a great way to earn cash flow, and that's something that we focus on. Something that you could do. This is one way. Maybe you could learn how to do it yourself, so you can buy the properties, you can operate them, you get the education. But another thing you could do is you could learn how to find sponsors or people that go out and buy properties, maybe because you're busy, you're a business owner, or you're a professional, you don't have a lot of time to find the investments, to look for them, because it takes time to do that. but maybe you find some good people, some relationships, and then you can invest in their deals. And that's a great way to earn
more passively, as we say.
Passive
for
income.
Sure.
Exactly.
And then also you can do that through Airbnb.
Yep.
Is another way to do that. Roommates, in the sense of maybe you buy a home and you rent out the 2 other rooms.
Yes,
for
exactly.
additional income.
House hacking, as they call it.
Yeah, exactly. Or even partnering with someone to buy a home. She mentioned she did that with someone where she bought a house together and they were able to rent out some space in the house. So there's definitely a lot of creative ways.
Yes, there's tons of ways.
Real estate and other ways. And I don't want to forget about royalties was the other one that they mentioned as well.
And this is a great one. This is you creating information. Maybe you wrote a book, and the book, the sales from your book are generating income for you and through royalties. Maybe you created some type of software. If you're a technical person, that could be generating royalties. If you own land and there's natural resources, and you can sell those natural resources, that can earn royalties to you. And then the last one is maybe if you created a company that you were able to franchise, and now that's generating royalties. So the list again is endless. This podcast, this call is not meant to tell you every single way. Okay, I just gonna hit on some of them, so you know that what the possibilities are, so you can focus on building that wealth.
Right, and find what you really want to do in order for you to do that as well. And the most important note through all of that, I know Denny has mentioned education, and you're like, I'm tired of hearing about education.
Knock me over the head. Beat the horse.
But the reason it's so important is because, with knowledge comes power. Is what a lot of successful entrepreneurs or financially independent people will say. And there's a quote from Vicki that we really liked, was become knowledgeable and sophisticated enough to free yourself from fear or diversion. And I think that really goes into a lot of times you're trying, a lot of people are like, I want to be financially independent, I want to go out there and do these things that you're talking to me about. However, I don't know how to do any of that. I've never heard of these things. I don't know how it works. I don't know how it operates. So then the fear starts to come in that, what if I go out there and do that and I fail? And then I'm going to lose everything. So then people never do it. So that's why education is so important, because the more knowledgeable you come, the more comfortable you're going to feel about going out and doing some of these things that can help you build your wealth and build a lifestyle that you're looking for.
Yep. Yeah, the education is key. And then the other thing is taking smaller risks, right? So don't invest all your money in one deal thinking that it's going to be a home run, because if it doesn't work out, then depending on your situation, you may be in trouble. You may have to wait for a longer time to recoup that.
Yep, great point.
Get educated, right? All right, the next one is
pay off debt.
Pay off all debt, and pay off bad debt specifically. And that's it. Move on to the next point.
Oh, goodness, no. But what does that mean?
Yeah, well, there's 2 types of debt. There's good debt, there's bad debt. So focus on paying the bad debt. And that that's bad is debt that's not putting money in your pocket. So give you an example. We own apartment complexes. They have debt on them. We didn't pay for them cash, partly because we couldn't, but it's also not a smart thing to do, to buy them cash, because you have debt and then you can get a higher return on your money for that. But that debt that's on those apartment complexes, because it's generating cash flow to us every month, is actually good debt. So if I can have 100 apartment complexes with that debt, I would have that. If I could have 1,000, I would. Now, bad debt would be
credit cards, car loans, student loans. What am I missing?
Mortgage for your house,
for your home.
Mortgage for your house.
And it's not to say, because a lot of times people hear that, oh, this is bad debt, I'm a bad person. That's not what we're saying. We're just trying to explain the differences because there's some, people out there that are saying all debt is bad for you and you shouldn't have any in debt, and we don't. In our opinion, that doesn't apply whenever you're getting a business or you're buying real estate that is going to give you the opportunity to earn income. However, the other debt that may not be necessary or you can pay off is going to be that bad debt that you're able to take more control of, right? So, for example, credit cards, maybe you've had some purchases in the past that you were using a lot of credit cards. Well, pay that off, right? So that your income, you can have more income coming in and less expenses going out for unnecessary items.
Yep.
We all need a car. We do too. We have a car.
Yes.
We also got a loan on our car. So not to saying that, oh, you have to go pay cash. We're not saying that. We're just saying, try to make sure that you have a plan to pay those off. And Denny and I, we keep cars until we say they die, right?
Yeah.
So our plan is to buy a good car with the hopes of paying it off soon and keeping it. We're not going to go and get another car to get another loan, to start that process. We're trying to decrease our expenses, basically.
Yeah, as best as possible. So you have to evaluate your situation, so that can fit what you're doing. But I mean, most people, owning a home is a good thing. So you want to own a home, have a mortgage on that, depending on your situation, depending on your area. It's a great way to build wealth. But do you need to have the more expensive home in this expensive community? You need to evaluate that decision. Is it the best decision for you for your future? Also, could you start paying off the home sooner? And we'll talk about in future calls on what some of the strategies that you could do with that. So the goal would be to pay off debt, so you're not looking servant, more of a slave to debt. You have debt working in your favor. And the next one, and our last point, is budget, right? And Desiree, I think I'm going to let you take over this one because you're really good with this.
Oh, goodness. He always says that because I'm like, about the money. So one thing, we mentioned this earlier, having a financial plan together, right?
Yeah.
So you can understand the type of lifestyle or needs you need. And that all can be built with doing a budget. We definitely recommend monthly budgets to track more efficiently what money is going out and the type of money you have coming in. And from there, you can start to decide, okay, I'm spending this amount of money on going out. I'm spending this amount of money on eating out at restaurants or clothes. Do I really need to spend that much money? And we've been in a position, because I don't want to sit here and think that we have like the perfect budgets and we've always been on point and we're here to tell everybody that we know everything.
We're not perfect?
No.
I thought we were perfect.
And I don't want to be.
Yep.
Where's the fun in it?
Yes.
So, and the reason we are sharing this is because we've gone through this and we know the importance of having a budget. I remember one month I was kind of like, whoa, we need to slow down on eating out. And Denny, that's one of his favorite things to do is eating out. Mine is more experiences, doing concerts and stuff. But I was like, we need to watch our eating out budget. And he's just like, what? No, I think we need to eat out. I would like to eat out more, And then I said, okay, well, let's look at the budget and see how much we spent. And I will, when we looked at the budget, we were almost with $800 and something dollars on eating out, you guys.
Yep, and that's the key to tracking. So you have a budget, but then not only that, keep track of it on a monthly basis of what you're spending.
And then how did you feel about that?
Oh, no. When I saw that, I was like, wow, I couldn't believe it.
I'm eating out enough, right?
Yeah, I'm eating out more than enough, right? More than I really should. And so I actually was able to slow it down and come back and say, we really shouldn't be eating out so much. And
that's why budgets are so great, though, because you come to the realization, oh, wow, I don't really need to eat out that much.
Yep.
So it's it's a way for you to really track your life, not let it get away, because ever since we got these plastic cards instead of actually paying cash, it's kind of mindless. You're just charging your card, right? It's out of sight, out of mind,
and you spend more with those plastic
right
things.
And the importance of this is something that we heard, it's in the book, but we also just read an article again on it today, talking about how most Americans are 2 paychecks away from being homeless. There was a 2015 study that said 47% of Americans would have to sell something or borrow money to cover a $400 expense. That was 2015. I just read an article today, which is 2019, that says the same thing, right? It was going over the same topic about how Americans, about 46% Americans don't have enough money to cover a $400 expense that may come up for a car repair, a medical bill, something important that just comes up. And the reason, that I was shocked when I heard that. And I think, I don't know the situation. I don't know if it's because we're not having enough income, depending on where they may be with their job. But also, I think we just need to try to set in more ways to better prepare ourselves, where we're saying, my income is here, my expenses are there. What are some ways I can increase my income? Or on the other hand, what are some expenses I need to get rid of so that I can have money saved away on a monthly basis to be able to save for emergencies, or to be able to do other things if we're wanting to invest money, or etc.
I think it all really comes down to budgeting and tracking, like you're saying, because if you're tracking it and you see that every single month you're a shortfall, you don't have the savings, or you don't have any money to put towards savings, then okay, well, I need to find a way to generate more income, whether it is changing my job, getting a side business, or starting a business full time. But if you're not tracking it, then you're not going to know. And then even on the other side of it, maybe you're just spending too much money. You can say, oh wow, we're spending too much money on clothes, we're spending too much money on eating out, we're spending too much money on maybe our house payment, our car payments. So when you're tracking that all the time, you can make better decisions. It's just, companies do it. Why can't we, as and I don't want to say the words, just people, right? We should be able to do that. I was going to say consumers, but that's not what we should be.
Yeah.
So Vicki she says some tips about the budgeting, and she says track everything that goes in and track everything that goes out. So everything you spend and everything that you bring in as income, you need to track it. You need to know where it's coming from. And this is talking about money that's coming in from a job, or even money that you're doing if you have side hustles that you're doing, side businesses where you're getting paid cash. Track all of it so you can keep a list of what's money's coming in and how much you're actually spending.
Right. And this circles back to a point we brought up earlier too. This is a great way to tap into that physical energy that we talked about, to understand how much money you have coming in but is going out on things that may not be necessary. Right?
That's right.
So
something that she also mentioned in the book regarding budgeting is how you spend your money explains what your values are.
Yeah.
And if you're tracking it, you could really dictate. And there's a saying, when I used to be with Keller Williams, I used to work as a broker. They said a business objective, life by design. So basically, design the life that you want. So if you're tracking, if you're budgeting, you see the money that's coming in, you can actually say, well, I want to spend this amount of money on this because I really want my life to go in that direction. Maybe it's a hobby that you wanted to do. Maybe you want to learn a foreign language, whatever it is. But dictate the life the way that you want it. Don't just let all these other bombarded commercials and things dictate it.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so with that, to close, we talked about number one,
summary.
Yeah,
to remember everything.
Yeah, so we can remember everything. Summarizing is have enough cash flow from your investments to stop working at your job or to do the things that you want to do.
Yeah. Have a fire accountability group.
Yeah. Make sure, because accountability increases the likelihood that things are going to happen, that you're going to meet your goals. 3 is change your relationship with money by determining what you need, not what you want. Ooh, that's a hard one.
Yeah, and I like the example where it says, hey, I may want a Ferrari, but I may only need a Toyota Camry.
Exactly. Right now, when you have the money later, you can get the Ferrari, but right now you may only be able to afford that Camry. Go for it, get the Camry.
Number 4 is evaluate the cost of an item has physical energy.
Yes.
And we've talked about that, so I don't want to keep feeding down that one.
Yeah. The next one is determine the amount of money you need to be financially independent, your lifestyle, your financial plan. Determine what that is, right? We talked about having your income to equal your expenses from your business, the income from your business to equal the expenses, and then that will equal financially independent. But also, maybe like Desiree said, maybe you want to have 10%, 20% more so you can save money or have a little bit more flexibility in your life. Go for it.
And number 6, consider investments that are within your portfolio goals. So this goes along with, there's a lot of coaches or gurus, and I'm putting up quotation marks as I talk about this. But the reason I say that is because there's a lot of people out there that are telling you what you need to do, what you need to buy, or how you need to get rich. You need to find out, what are your goals? How do you feel comfortable making more money, and what are your plans?
Yeah.
Because a lot of time they're talking about goals that are based on their lifestyles, which they could probably own jets and everything, but you may not really need to have a jet. Right?
Yep.
In order for you to be happy, you just want to make ends meet in order for you to quit your job and go do the things that you want to do.
Exactly. I'd consider for level 1 is being able to have enough money to quit your job. Then level 2, 3, 4, and 5, you can work on building maximum wealth and all those things for jets and stuff. That's your goals are. The next one is pay off bad debt. Right? Pay off the debt that's not putting money in your pocket.
And the last but not least is budget. Make sure you're looking at your budget on a monthly basis to understand what's going in, going out, and where, like she said, what your values are.
There we go. Okay, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. We are excited for the future interviews that we have lined up for you with different professionals and fantastic topics all about building wealth.
To learn more about real estate investing or how to be a private investor, visit our website at www.everythingaboutwealth.com.
Now, if you like the show, remember to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any episodes we have lined up. Like us on iTunes, Google Play, or your favorite app. This helps more people to find this show.
And if you would like to follow us, you can follow Everything About Wealth on Instagram at Everything About Wealth. If you're interested in following us on our personal pages, feel free to follow Denny at Denny Troncoso or myself at Desi, Dessi Troncoso.
And with that, we'll see you guys on the next show.
See you on the next show.